everyone, Brent from BC Dubs, bringing you folks another hopefully watchable video. Man, this is going to be a fun one tonight. Been thinking about what kind of content I wanted to do, music related, looking through my albums, and I was thinking, what's something I haven't done a video on? And tonight I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that era from the late 60s all the way up through, I think I got one in here from 1980 or 1982, but mainly from the late 60s through the 70s, of some more obscure rock bands, progressive bands, psychedelic bands. We got some jazz fusion in here. We have some krautrock in here. Kind of a little bit of everything. So instead of talking about our usual, Boston or Bachman Turner Overdrives or Fleetwood Macs or bands like that, Leonard Skinner, Creedence Clearwater Revival. Instead of talking about bands like that, we're going to talk about some more obscure bands, some bands you may not have heard of, or maybe you have and you really enjoy, maybe you haven't, and this will be the first time you hear of them, and I hope it turns you on to their music. Like always, I have my two window albums up here in the window. First one to comment on those in the comment section and gets those two albums correct, I'll pin your comment up top. Anyway, man, appreciate the support. If you find this kind of content enjoyable, please smash that like button. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're BC Dubs. We try to bring a video almost at least once a week to 2 to 3 times a week. What's weird, before we get into it, I put a lot of work and effort, even though it may not come across that way here on the channel, because I don't have the best setup yet. I'm working toward that, and with your guys' and girls' help, maybe we'll get there one day. And I'm learning. I'm kind of technology, backwards. I don't know a lot about technology, so I'm learning. I have to have some help and ask some questions about what the right setups are and everything like that. And I know that we'll get there one day. But, I can put a short, just a stupid short up on YouTube that really is meaningless, and it just seems like it gets 400 or 500 views right away. I put a lot of work into one of these longer videos, and it's hard to get traction here. I'm not complaining. I just don't understand the algorithms. I'll get there one day. But without further ado, thanks for tuning in. Let's get into today's list. We have about 16, 17 albums, so let's not take much more time and get right into it. So the first band that we want to talk about, and some of these I've showed on my channel before, some of them I may have not, but this is a composite list, so in the effort of making this list, we may see some records that I've already shown. So first band we have up, this is Blood Rock 2. This is a hard rock band. They're out of Fort Worth, Texas. My copy is beat the all heck and back. I need to get a newer, cleaner copy of this. But this is Blood Rock 2. This album here came out in 1970. I do believe this was their first album. Although they did have another album in 1970. This band was really pumping out the music in the early 70s. They got about 8 or 9 albums all together. They're more of your hard rock, southern rock type of band. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'll give these guys a listen. This is Blood Work 2, more obscure album out. It's not that hard to find. You pick up an album like this for, I don't know, 10 to 15 bucks, depending on the condition. It's just an album that people don't talk about a whole lot. And that's kind of the purpose of this video. Digging up old albums that people just don't talk about that much anymore. This is Blood Work 2. It's a good record. Next up, we have, this is more progressive rock band. This is Man is the name of the band. The name of this album is Slow Motion. I picked this up, I think it was last week or week before last. This particular album came out in 1974. Just a good, put it on the background, some progressive rock, hard rock. Enjoy the album cover, really cool. But this is Man, Slow Motion from 1974. This is one of the ones, and I felt like, since we're talking about different kinds of music, and it doesn't always have to be hard rock or heavy metal, right? We want to invite everybody into the audience. This is one that is from 1982. This is one of my later releases, probably the latest release that I have in this video. But I picked this up. It's just a really cool album, a really cool synth techno album that I picked up. This is Patrick Cowley. I did a little bit of information on the channel before about the guy. The guy didn't live past his 30s. Got into a car accident. This is Patrick Kelly, Mind War. It's a really good, really good early techno album from 1982. The guy kind of generated out of the late 70s disco scene, but this is not disco, and I do not like disco, nor will you ever see disco on my channel. But this is different from that. It's a really killer album. If you've never heard this record and you're looking for some good, throwback to the older generation party music, it's a good record to have. So if you haven't heard it, I recommend that you look this up on Spotify or YouTube Music or wherever you get your music and give it a listen and go out and buy the album. 1982. I just did a short on this album. This is 1978's Gasoline. This is a Danish hard rock band from Denmark. One of the funny things about this record, it's a good band. Nothing really stands out about this album to me. It's a solid album. It's a good album, but it's not something that you're going to want to run and pull out every time you want to hear some hard rock. But it's decent. Funny thing about this, Flemming Rasmussen was the assistant engineer on this record, who famously became Metallica's producer during what I would consider their heyday. Flemming Rasmussen produced Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Injustice for All. And then for whatever reason, Metallica got rid of him, which was a mistake. And maybe one day, you know what would be great? Is if Metallica could team up with old Flemming Rasmussen. By the way, it's a Danish band, if I didn't mention that. Team up with old Flemming Rasmussen, go back over to Denmark, Copenhagen somewhere, Lars' hometown, and just go all out for nothing on their last album. If it's their final album, get Flemming back and make a thrash record, man. That'd be great. Give Flemming a call. I'm sure he's not doing much. Who knows? Next up. I'm telling you, man, we're getting in the weeds a little bit on this stuff, but like I said, I wanted to, bring you folks stuff that maybe you haven't seen or heard or haven't seen in a long time. I got this from my buddy Steve Baez. Shout out to you, Steve. This is Lee Oscar. He's a Danish harmonica player. Yeah, weird. It's a weird album. I got to be honest, I don't listen to it very much, but it's not bad. But it's a weird album. It's kind of why I threw it in here. Lee Oscar. If you're into Danish harmonica players, this is the record for you. So check it out. Lee Oscar, 1974, self-titled. He had a lot of albums, man. Probably was popular in Denmark. Who knows? Next up, we have 1978's Safety in Numbers by Crack the Sky. Just a killer hard rock record. If you haven't listened to Crack the Sky, or if you haven't listened to them in a while, I would suggest listening to this particular album. It's the only Crack the Sky album I own. I will buy more. But this one right here is just a killer solid record. Really enjoy it on the Life Song label right there. Crack the Sky, 1978, Safety in Numbers. The next two I have shown on my channel a couple of times. This is Nectar, Remember the Future. Just an awesome psychedelic, progressive, rock album. They're out of, I think they're Welsh, actually. This particular album came out in, I think it was 1974. Yep, 1974. Just some amazing artwork. They actually got this artwork from a well-known and famous artist over in that area. My copy has quite a bit of paper loss on it. Maybe I'll trade it in one day, get a cleaner copy. Really like the gold and the black. There's the back of the album. Nectar, Remember the Future. This is an original press here. Next up, we have Nectar, which is another great album art. This is Magic is a Child. This is their 1977 release. Once again, just a progressive rock and roll album. If you like progressive rock, you can't go wrong with Nectar. Next up, this is another 80s entry that I have on the list. Not this next album, but the one after it. But this is a jazz fusion band out of Augusta, Georgia. Played a little bit of, jazz fusion, rock and roll, southern rock, bluegrass, just stuff like that. They're strictly an instrumental band. This is Dixie Dregs, Night of the Living Dregs. This is a live album that came out in 1979. Killer record. And next up we have Dregs of the Earth, which came out 1980. So this is my other 80s record. What label are they on? Arista, Regency Records. Let's take a look real quick at the Dixie Dregs. In love or memory of Twigs. I guess Twigs was this guy. So. Yeah, on Arista. See Arista label. Yep, on Arista. If you like progressive instrumental type music, they're really good at it, man. They're really, really good at it, and it's good listening music. It's something you can put on the background and just let play. You have guest over or something like that. Those are my jazz fusion albums, the only two jazz fusion albums that I own. I do own some other jazz, but it's the only two jazz fusion albums that I own. Super cool. Dixie Dregs have a boatload of records. Go out and give them a listen. Next up, this is one of my favorite finds, and this is why I wanted to do this stuff, so I could go back into the early days and maybe discover music that's been around forever, that nobody ever talks about anymore, and it's like finding a hidden gem, you know, or a diamond in a rough. And then you go out and you listen to it and you start doing some research and you're like, wow, man, this band was really big. I can't believe I've never heard of them before. And this is Wishbone Ash. This is their first album, and it is killer. If you like the early makings of hard rock, this is just simply one of the best. This album right here came out in 1970. And after I picked it up based on, I like the album art. And I picked it up based on that and then took it home and listened to it. Found out that this band influenced bands like Lynyrd Skynyrd, Opeth, Metallica, the Eagles. I mean, just you name it. A lot of bands that I love have given a lot of credence to Wishbone Ash, and I can't believe I never heard of them. They went through a lot of member changes. So I have two of their first four records. After, I think on their fifth record, they started changing out members. So I want to stick with their first four, the original first four. I have two of them. I'm going to show you the other one. This is their 1970 release, Wishbone Ash. If you have never heard this record and you're a rock fan, do yourself a favor, give it a listen. You will not regret it. Wishbone Ash. Self-titled, 1970. This is their 1973 release, Wishbone Ash 4. This is their third album, or their fourth album, I'm sorry. Wishbone Ash 4. Just as good as the first one. Just simply killer music. Killer music. I have two more I need to get from them, which shouldn't be too hard to find. These albums, for whatever reason, aren't that crazy expensive, but we'll be getting their first four albums for sure. When I get those out, the other two, I will definitely bring them in to a video. Next up, we have Clear Light, which is another, this is a psych rock band. This particular album came out in let me get it out of this thing. This particular album came out in 1967. Just a psych rock band. There's the boys on the back. I think this one has the original sleeve. Yeah, sure does. Look at that old Elektra label right there. Check that out. Yeah, probably one of the first bands to sign with Elektra. I'm not sure. You know, Elektra was famously the label that signed Metallica when they put Kill 'Em All on Elektra. Metallica was with these guys for a long, long time. Clear Light, just a progressive rock band. Pretty good, actually. Just like anything else that I've said, if you haven't heard of them, feel free to go out and give them a listen. I wonder what that old Elektra label looks like. Let's take a look at that. Oh, yeah. Just the big E on there. This album's in great shape, by the way, for an album from 1967. That's what I love about physical media, man. You know, it's a piece of history, really. Sure, you can go out and get any of this stuff on streaming, but this album was pressed on a machine in 1967, and it is still in great condition. I can put this on my record player and listen to it, and there's just something about it that just brings nostalgia to me, and I really love that stuff. And I think any vinyl collector or record collector or any collector of anything, whether it's sports cards or classic cars or, you know, whatever it is, records, retro video games, whatever it is, understands that nostalgia and what it means. I think that's something that's getting lost on our younger generation today, but I'm going to bring my kids up, right? Because they'll have all these albums if they want them. Next up, recently got this record, talked about them not too long back. This is Amon Duel. This album came out in 1974. This is called Hijack. Just a super weird album. It's a krautrock record. If you like German rock, that's basically what it is. And this is more like a college type band type of krautrock, just real experimental music. But I enjoy it. Like the album, dig the album cover too. This is Amon Duel. That's spelled A-M-O-N-D-U-L-L 2. The number 2. Hijack. It's right there if you can see it. Yeah. Anyway, great record. If you haven't listened to them, give them a listen. You may or may not like it. It's not for everybody. I did enjoy it though. Anybody that knows anything about psych rock or early progressive rock will know these next two albums. This is Blue Cheer, 1969 press. New and improved. My copy is not in that great of a shape. The album is in great shape, but the album jacket is not. But this is an original 1969 press. Hey, I only paid $9 for it though. Crazy. This is a 1970 press of Blue Cheer from a 1968 album. So, you know, it's pressed in 70. That's why it's more blue. The original is silver. I know where there is an original. The guy wants $50 for it. I don't know. I got this copy. But this is Blue Cheer. Vince Bus, Eruptum. This is what started it all for these guys. Just great psych rock, great progressive rock, early stuff from Blue Cheer. Matter of fact, right before I just recorded this video, I just listened to this record. This is, I'm a huge Steve Miller fan, but in the purposes of not throwing on, you know, Book of Dreams or Fly Like an Eagle or The Joker, which we all know, because the purpose of this album is more obscure bands from this era, or more obscure albums or bands from this era. This is Steve Miller's Your Saving Grace. This is a lot different from Fly Like an Eagle or Book of Dreams or The Joker. This is less experimental, more just progressive type rock, less psych type stuff. It's a really great record. This is his second album. I think this came out in 1969. I think his first album came out in 68. But if you go back and look at Steve Miller, he was putting out like albums like sometimes 2 a year in his early career. But I just got done listening to this. It's just a great album. Brotherhood, Consciousness, Peace, and Conservation. They might have been smoking a little bit of that green leaf back in the day. Steve Miller, great record. If you haven't heard it and you want to hear something different from Steve Miller than what you've always heard on the radio, give this album a try. This is a very clean copy. Plays really nice. No popping, no scratching. This copy, anyway. Anybody that knows anything about psych rock or in the album collecting, scene should know this album. This is 13th Floor Elevators right here. Now, this is not an original 13th Floor Elevators that's in this great condition. That would be just simply amazing if I had that, but I don't have $5,000 to $10,000 for that. This is a fantastic reissue, one of the best reissues of this record. This is a 2001 reissue of this album. Just a killer psych rock from 1966 out of the Texas area. I think Houston, either Houston or Fort Worth or whatever. If you haven't ever heard this album and you like psych rock or progressive rock, psych rock I should just say, because that's what it is, go give them a listen. And last but certainly not least, this is the most common album on this list, but I wanted to bring it to you guys because anytime I do a music related video, I like to show you at least one thing new that I was able to pick up and add to the collection, and was able to get this. And I don't want to pull it out of the jacket cover because I still have the original shrink wrap, but it's a bifold. So I had, so this is the 50th anniversary remastered Dark Side of the Moon. I just picked this up last week. It's on 180 gram vinyl for whatever that's worth, but it's a really good reissue. It was done really well. It was remastered for the 50th anniversary. I don't know who it was remastered by. And I'm getting too old to be able to see it. But this is just a killer album. Everybody knows this record. We're talking about psych rock. Why not have Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon on here? But anyway, that's it for now. I hope you folks enjoyed the video. I hope maybe you saw a couple bands or something in there that maybe you haven't heard of before, or something that you've heard of a long time ago and forgot about, and you want to go back out and give them a listen. That's the purposes of these music videos, is to keep the music alive. Hope everyone stays well. Happy college football season. Don't forget, I know we had week 0, but we're starting a new season starting on Thursday night. Hope everybody has a great rest of your week. We'll see you again real soon for another music video. Also be looking forward to some college football related videos on the channel. We do a little bit of everything here on BC Does. We want to be pigeonholed just into one thing. So also some retro video games. I got a couple new ones. We'll be bringing a video about that. I really appreciate the support. We keep growing. We're up to 64 subscribers now. I feel like every time I talk to you folks, we've got one more subscriber, which is great, man. Little baby steps, little baby steps. One day we'll be at 50 million, and all of us hard rock and psych rock and rock and roll fans will take over again, and we'll bring rock back to the #1 genre in music. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next one.